Hey, you kid, get off my lawn.
Young whippersnappers.
So the federal government is never going to do anything to encourage big pharma to research on these things that we put in our beers. So this is kind of how I see us figuring out what works.
That's interesting. So different than Europe, right? Because they do research it and regulate it more in Europe.
They do, but it's something that the company has to basically pay for. And so it's extremely cost prohibited for these new ingredients that we use over here to get put into the market. So yes, they're much more closely regulated, but they kind of have the opposite side of the coin that we have here. Here we have almost no regulation. So if you get a bad actor, next thing you know, there's an outbreak of salmonella in 19 states, whereas over there, I don't know if you've ever tried a lot of European products, but compared to our premium stuff, our better stuff is garbage.
Really?
Yeah, they don't have nearly the variety of carrier oils in it, and the scents are much, much, much weaker. So you couldn't
I knew
even
about the scents that they were weaker.
Oh,
I just
yeah,
figured, in my brain it thinks, okay, there's less fragrances. That means the fill in beer is going to go up, right? Because there is a fine balance there. For some companies, put too much and it dries your beard, makes it crap.
Oh, I absolutely agree. But most of the companies that I've run into do stay pretty well within IFRA guidelines. But the thing is, IFRA is not the government. IFRA is basically a crafts guild. It's kind of an industry regulating itself, which is fine. But it's not quite the same as the government, an outside party saying no, you can't do this, and yes, you can do this.
So is there a fee? Is there a fee to belong to that group or to get IFRA, whatever, certified or anything like that?
That really, as far as to join, I think there is. I looked in. I think there is a fee to become a member. They're not, as I understand it, from what I have seen of their databases. They're pretty. The format is very similar to the EU regs, which you can pull those up for free. Just Google EU regs on health and beauty products or things of that nature. Get a whole list of stuff. And I mean, they are very, very comprehensive. They even list things that you would never in a million years think that someone would want to put into something you put on your face. Petroleum, like motor oil, is listed. Things of that nature. So, but it's been a while since I've looked at all that stuff. Once I got to a certain point, I felt like I was kind of just beating a dead horse. It's like, okay, most of the stuff out there is probably safe. You do get some secondary contamination whenever people are making stuff like in their kitchen where they're preparing food. But for the most part, it's most of it's clean enough for what we do.
Yeah, it's topical anyway. So, I mean, it would have to be really bad for it to cause issues unless you were allergic to a certain substance they were using.
Well, and that's why whenever I do my testing, the very first thing I do is I have those first couple of days of just regular use. Not to name drop, but Fable had a barber shop that he released with Bearded Motivation, Dave, and I was sensitive to the cinnamon.
I was too.
It wasn't that it was a bad product; it was just something that I was sensitive to. So
So we talked about what's safe, but one of the things you mentioned was like safe versus best.
Yeah.
That gives you a whole nother ball of wax, and that kind of leads into things like the silicones and some of that kind of stuff too.
Well, with the silicone and with so many of these products, these are things that you can get in a store at the big boxes. Multi-million-dollar conglomerates make these things, so they're considered safe. But are they the best thing? Well, McDonald's is safe. You can go in and they've been inspected, but is that something that you want to eat exclusively? No.
It's junk. A lot of
it. It's basically the fast food version of Doritos or something. They taste good and it'll fill you up, but yeah, it's not really what you would call good for you. But that's the beauty of the small batch industry to me, is you get those ingredients that are good for you. And if you go online and you Google, what's the best vegetable for you, you're going to get all kind of crazy information, because there is no single best vegetable for you. Variety is the key, because what one vegetable has in abundance, it won't have something else, and all that kind of stuff. So I try to do a rotation, try to figure out, kind of have base groups. So okay, here's a caster, here's my non-casters, and if I'm having problems with my skin, now I'm considering creating the aloe/emu oil category for those days whenever I really feel like my skin is a little dry or what have you. That's the way I do things. So I don't.
So you feel like aloe and emu does better to moisturize your skin?
All right. So emu has anti-inflammatory properties to it. And now, when I made my video about Black Rebel Beard Company, I made a statement. And as far as I can remember, this is the only oil that has the full array of omega fatty acids. And so, and within hours, I had an email. No, what about cranberry? Doggone it, I forgot it. I said that I could remember now. So, but those trans fatty acids, if you wanted to do it a different way, you could take those, you could ingest those, you could, either through food or supplements.
Right. You were talking about that on the video.
Yeah. So at what point where's the balance at? Where do you get the most bang for your buck putting it on your face and skin versus taking it orally? And I think that's going to be the next question that we have to kind of explore. Now, next week, I'm going to start doing a 1-week test challenge for Fable CBD line. Now, right out the gate, first time I used the co-wash, it was like, wow, okay, this is good stuff. But the co-washes, I'm always much more hesitant to jump on that train for saying, yes, this one is great, because you only use it once or twice a week. So it takes longer to kind of get a feel for, okay, how good is this really for my beard? And
we have how many times a week you need to use it.
Yeah. Okay. And truthfully, that probably varies on all the other factors too. Your genetics, your age, your climate, your diet, all these things that come into play with everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you get into the question about how do you figure out what's best for you, like what oil's the best, whatever's the best. I mean, things are constantly changing, whether it's your diet or whether it's the stress you're under or the climate. As soon as, like, I remember last year, the year before, as soon as the fall hit and we had the first spell of lower humidity, it's like my beard just went to, all of a sudden, it was just magnificent all of a sudden. And I couldn't figure out whether it was the weather or I'd switched co-washes or if it was something else that was going on.
Yeah. Humidity plays a huge part of it. In fact, dirty little secret. That's one of the things that I do during my boot camp. Is I will have one day where I will try to lower the humidity as much as I can. Now,
Yeah, well, that's not a secret. You said that in your video. You got it down to 47% or something.
45 to 50, somewhere in there. Humidity can vary from one side of the room to the other. So, but it was somewhere in there. Which, considering that I live like today, the dew point is probably going to be 70 degrees. In other words, a very, very high level of, oppressive relative humidity. I can go sit on my back porch, even in the shade, even with a fan blowing on me to try to keep me as cool as possible. It's still going to be funky.
Yeah.
And
you're in Louisiana, is that right?
No, I'm in South Georgia.
South Georgia.
I am 20 some miles from the Florida border, from the Georgia-Florida line.
Yeah, you're down in the humidity for sure.
What's a man got to do around here anyway?
Mind your manners now. Mind your manners.